After a few seasons worth of duds, it seemed like this franchise would get canceled. But in 1998, Power Rangers blasted off with what would be their best season since the series first aired with Mighty Morphin. With almost a decades-long story arc wrapping up though, I still feel like Power Rangers should have ended within space. I don't have to spend an hour explaining the entirety of Power Rangers, but for those of you who lived under a rock, Power Rangers is a story about a floating giant head in a fishbowl that has a robot kidnap 5 teenagers with attitude and turn them into superheroes known as the Power Rangers in order to fight evil space aliens that want to take over the world. The series would have many twists and turns throughout the years, but started to fizzle out once we got to Turbo, a season about cars, which was sick, but the original cast was leaving and was passing the torch on to a new group of teens who would miss out on their high school lives in order to fight monsters. During Turbo, Zordon, the giant floating head in a fishbowl, is kidnapped by a giant lava space monster in space named Dark Spectre. So when they get the call, the Power Rangers steal a spaceship and fly into space. They get hijacked by this other spaceship known as the Astro Megaship, which becomes their new command center and main Zord for the season. They run into Andros, the Red Ranger in space, who is reluctant to deal with their bullshit until they mention they are Power Rangers trying to find Zordon. They then become the In-Space Rangers and help Andros defeat a monster, proving their worth. This season is fucking awesome. It honestly takes everything that came before it and cranks it up to 1,000 with its storytelling. There are so many adult themes going on in these episodes that as a 9-year-old, I couldn't really appreciate it until I rewatched it as an adult. Andros' little sister Krone gets kidnapped by a monster when they were kids on their home planet of KO-35, which a couple years before the season is invaded, seeing its people have to flee. Carlos deals with having doubts of being a Power Ranger. Ashley has a will they won't they thing with Andros. Cassie falls in love with the Phantom Ranger, ultimately getting ghosted and ends up helping a bee monster. And TJ has to deal with no longer being the leader of the group and then just kind of exists throughout the season. We also discover Andros has his best friend Zane, the Silver Ranger, frozen in a tube thing in order to keep him alive, since he was almost killed years prior, but he comes out to save the day and can only morph every so often, otherwise he will die. As the series go on, we learn that the big bad Astronema is actually Andros' missing sister, and what follows is some of the best storytelling in Power Rangers since the Green Ranger saga. It's revealed that one of Dark Spectre's henchmen, Darkonda, kidnapped Karone when she was a kid and had this robot monster guy, Ecliptor, raise her to be this evil space queen that she is today. But eventually they figure out who she was, and she turns good, and then she turns evil again, and then she goes on a date with Zane, and then she decides she wants to kill Dark Spectre and take over the universe, and then she becomes good again, and then they turn her into an evil cyborg thing. While all this is going on, Astronema also makes what is to date one of the coolest villains in the Power Rangers, the Psycho Rangers. These episodes were so fucking awesome because for the first time the Power Rangers had met their match that seemed to be smarter and more powerful, but of course they eventually learned to outsmart the Psychos and end up defeating them. Those episodes were some of the best the season had to offer. It's revealed that Astronema has Zordon now on her ship and he is nearly out of juice, so Dark Spectre orders all the evil alien monsters in the universe to attack all the Power Rangers we've seen up to this point. These last 2 episodes, named Countdown to Destruction, see the In-Space Rangers get their asses kicked in an epic finale where you think that there is no way they can win. As all the fighting is going on, Darkonda attacks Dark Spectre, killing him while the lava monster returns the favor, and they both die, leaving the cyborg Astronema to be the queen of evil. She fights her brother Andros alongside a reprogrammed Ecliptor, and as it just seems like it's the end of the line, Zordon tells Andros to destroy its fish tank and it will wipe out all the evil in the galaxy. He ends up killing his cyborg sister during the fight and then throws his big ass sword, breaking Zordon's tank, killing him and purifying the galaxy of all its evil. We see all the monsters across the planets turn to dust. Rita and Lord Zed and the fish woman from Turbo all become humans, which is kind of fucked up because they're trapped on other worlds. Andros lands on Earth to meet up with the rest of the Rangers, carrying out his dead sister to them. He cries over her body and his tears turn her into the good Karone and bring her back to life, and the day is saved. To me, this was the best season of Power Rangers. It came out at the right time when I was interested in Star Wars and space and sci-fi movies and shows. The In-Space Ranger suits were sick, the Zords were so cool, the storylines were amazing. The only thing that drove me nuts though was that if Zordon knew this whole time that if he gave up his life, it would wipe out all the evil in the galaxy, why didn't he just off himself from the start and save these teenagers years worth of PTSD? Either way, when the Power Rangers in space ended, I felt that was it. How could this show's story go on without Zordon bringing together a group of teens to fight monsters? Well, the next few seasons of Power Rangers were pretty good, however, nothing topped In Space. To this day, I still think the franchise should have wrapped up there, but of course it became a mindless cash cow. Whenever I see clips from recent seasons of talking hamsters and a dog humanoid person that could become a Power Ranger, I'm just kind of like, what the fuck happened to this show? I could go on forever about Power Rangers in Space. I left out a bunch of stuff like when they meet the Ninja Turtles, which was absolutely awful, but the whole season is so good, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of heat for saying that it should have have ended there, but that's my personal opinion. Okay, goodbye.